Hey everybody, John Campaneski here. Hope your summer breaks are going well, and sorry to interrupt them with this brief message, and I promise I will keep it brief. But it is an honor to be your new lead administrator at your middle school. I was hired, as you guys know, at the end of the last school year, and just wanted to give you all time to settle into your summer routines and breathe that long sigh of relief from the incredible work you did last year with the students. I kind of took a look at all the data and some pretty impressive stuff. And so, even though I'm not officially your administrator yet, and we haven't had that first work day together, I just want to say thank you in advance for all the hard work you've done with the students over the last year, and obviously look forward to building on that a little bit as we move forward. And so we'll go ahead and segue into the main content of the message, me introducing myself. I was a teacher, a history teacher for 13 years, and I got into education because the education system I grew up in, which was taking notes all week and then a test on Friday just to do it all again it bored the heck out of me. Absolutely bored the heck out of me, and I'm not going to lie, had my fair share of discipline problems because of that. And went into college, loved history, had no idea what to do with it. And one day I needed a class to keep full-time schedule to keep health insurance, ironically. And my mom said, why don't you take an education class and think about becoming a teacher? And my mom was my advisor in college, and incredible woman. And I said, Mom, you know how I got along with my teachers in high school. And she said, John, what better way to change something than become part of it? And my mom had just a way with one-liners, as many mothers do. And so I went ahead and kind of grudgingly signed up for the class and went in. Seminar, first year education theory with Mark Davies. He talked about education as a method of social justice, of equity, of expanding horizons and providing opportunity, and I was instantly hooked. Marched out of that class down to my mom's office. Again, she was my advisor, and became an education major, which added a year and a half of college classes, but I did not care. I had found my calling, and has been all I have really focused on in terms of my occupation and my dedication since that day. And so that is the dedication and kind of energy I bring to education and that I'm bringing to you at your middle school. So that's a little bit about me. I taught for 8 years at the North Caneo School District in La Jara, Colorado, and for the last 2 years at the Monte Vista School District in Monte Vista, Colorado, and land with you guys in the summer of 2019, where the Colorado weather just cannot seem to make up its mind, even today. Yeah, sunny and cloudy. So two things I want us to do in this video right now, and this video is designed with kind of my MO, my modus operandi in mind. My goal is to give you as much time as possible working with the students or preparing to work with the students. Anything I can do there, I am going to do. That includes trying to make staff meetings short, efficient, well-run, to the point, getting you back again to your horizontal planning, vertical planning, and all the other duties that you need to accomplish in your classroom. Again, a good teacher needs a good amount of time to plan good lessons. And so my goal is not to dawdle. My goal is to get to the point. This video will be to the point. It will be actually a little bit longer than I want it to be. But again, it's designed to just head off any issues we might have and to lay out some expectations. So, first of all, staff meetings. Staff meetings are a wonderful way for everybody to get their voice heard. That said, when we're making serious discussion or having serious discussions, or we're making serious decisions, having 25 voices try to be heard over the course of an hour or two in a discussion that could impact 250 kids, 25 total staff members. Sometimes that can get a little bit messy, and sometimes it can almost be counterproductive. And so what I'm going to ask everybody to do is this. Before we have staff meetings, and our first staff meeting will be on the first work day, which is August 14th this year, I'm going to send out a week before that staff meeting an agenda. And what I would like you to do with your horizontal team is discuss as a team the discussion items on that agenda. Those will be things where I'm looking for an opinion. Now, if you're all just good with what is being discussed, just come to a conclusion and say, yeah, we're all good with this. But if not, go ahead and have a discussion and then try to come to a consensus at the staff meeting with your horizontal team. So 6th grade will have a consensus, 7th grade will have a consensus, 8th grade will have a consensus, etc. Now, some of you might be saying that robs the individual of their voice, and that is not at all the intention here. As a matter of fact, we're trying to go in the opposite direction. Hear me out. When you are working with your horizontal teams, you're with your family. And those are the people you spend an incredible amount of time with, even more than your vertical level teams. And so your horizontal level team are your peeps. And so you're going to be most comfortable talking about the difficult issues with them first. And you also know how each other operate, and you're also comfortable with each other, and you've also already had those incredibly hard conversations about students together. And so view this not as as not allowing each individual to participate. View it as having the conversation with your family first, and coming to a consensus from your family first, and then bringing that consensus to the table of the staff meeting. That is the way I'd like us to look at it. We have to collaborate. One of the things I have to do as an administrator is to prompt you to collaborate. One of the things you have to do as per your RANDA rubric, and you all know this, is collaborate amongst yourselves, both horizontally and vertically. And so again, this is an opportunity for you with your family to discuss the hard issues, come to a conclusion. If you can't, that's okay. If you can't, then odds are the other team can't either. And that means we do need to have that discussion where we're probably going to have to draw it out a little bit longer and hear more voices. But again, my goal is to preserve your time, to preserve your prep time for your students, and to make sure that you are not being overburdened. So again, week before staff meetings, I'll send out an agenda. On that agenda, you'll see it'll probably be in red or some other color, maybe something a little more joyful than red. You'll see discussion items. And again, I would like you to, with your team, discuss those discussion items, come to a consensus, and then select one person to report out. And I would like that one person to revolve a little bit. Sometimes we can just get helium hand ourselves, where we're always putting our hand up and we share the information consistently every single time. Or sometimes we just get stuck in a rut where we don't want to share that information. But I would like the share to kind of rotate on a weekly basis, monthly basis, excuse me. So, staff meetings, let's solve the problem of drawn out staff meetings in advance by discussing these discussion items with our team, coming to a consensus if possible, and then having one person share the, in terms of the consensus, 3, 4, 5 sentences maybe. We don't have to go on for pages, but at the same time, we shouldn't just be saying yes or no. We should throw some support and evidence behind it. And so that's just, again, and communication is important, and saving time is important. We have to make sure we're doing our best there. So, we've talked about our first transition. And our first transition, obviously, was just kind of me presenting my expectations in terms of how we're going to discuss things at staff meetings, discussions items, etc. We are now going to discuss how we're going to handle our transition together. I am not of your district, which is kind of unique. Sometimes you get that administrator who's been part of your district for a really long time. You know who they are. You know how they operate. I am in the unique position that I am coming to you and I am not part of your district. And I do not necessarily know the intricacies of how you operate. And so we're going to have a transitionary period together where we're going to learn how to operate efficiently together, how to support each other, how to love each other, but most importantly, how to provide the best possible education to the students together. And so that's going to involve transition. And transition can be difficult. I think we've all been through those, either from not having children to having children, from not being a teacher to being a teacher, from being single to having a significant other. Transition can be difficult, and even personal transition that is forced, that you don't get a say in. Think about losing somebody in your family can be incredibly, incredibly difficult. And so how do we deal with this transition effectively together? And how do we avoid any conflicts that might arise? And I want to deal with this right initially before we go any further together as a staff. We're not always going to see eye to eye on things. But one thing I want you to understand is that I will always support you. If there's ever a change that needs to be made personally, collectively, or myself, we will always look at the change and also the supports that can be put in place. That is the number one thing I am about as an administrator, is helping educators grow. You're the dream team, you're the Avengers, you're the superstars. I'm just here to support you and give you the tools necessary to make you as good as you can be, and kind of help with running the show in the background so you guys can be in the classroom and be kind of the stars of the students' lives. And that's my goal. That said, we're not always going to see eye to eye on things. And so if there are ever issues, in order to maintain the best possible culture and climate in the school, I want you to understand that you can always come talk to me. And those conversations may be awkward and difficult at times, especially since I don't know you all that well. My goal is to get to know you all better over my tenure here as your administrator, and to get to know the community better and to become part of the community, and also to understand those little intricacies that are necessary in order to help a community and a school be the best that they can be. So, how can you reach out to me? Email, you can call me. My door is always open. Even if my door is closed and knock knock, if I'm available, I'll come answer it. If not, I might be with a student or handling some other important business. But please understand that my number one way of us working together and making sure that we are going to work effectively and efficiently together, and also making sure everybody's on the bus, so to speak, is to communicate with each other. And as we do these transitionary times together, I want you to understand that I'm going to hear where you're coming from. I also, though, however, hope you'll hear where I'm coming from, and kind of my ideas. Perspective is something that's really important. And when we have our first staff meeting, I'm going to tell you a story about Sunday on the subway, which is a wonderful parable that a former administrator of mine opened his school years with, and it gives a wonderful lesson on empathy. And some of you might already be familiar with the story, and some of you are probably Googling it already. But I want us to understand that we need to be empathetic towards each other. That includes supporting each other personally, but it also includes understanding each other professionally. And that's a big part of who I am as an administrator, and also kind of where I'm coming from. So again, the goals of this video were to introduce myself, check. Were to explain my ideas for our discussion items that we're going to have together as a staff, check. And then also just to present the olive branch. I don't even want to call it an olive branch. That my door is always open, my email is always on, and my phone is always on. If you ever have questions, comments, concerns, gripes, grievances, instigations, motivations, elaborations, or any combination thereof, please do not hesitate to reach out. Honor to be hired as your lead administrator, and really look forward to working with you all. Below this, the link to this video is all my contact information. Please don't be bashful about reaching out and introducing yourself as well. We will have a little bit of a fun icebreaker half day at the beginning of the year before we begin the work of gelling together as a staff to support the students. So hope your summer is going well. Please reach out if you have any questions, and if not, I'll see you on our first work day, August 14th.